Greetings everyone, welcome to Just Advanced, and this game is from Tata Steel Rapid here 2023, and this is gonna be one epic saga here. We have a lot of time between World Cup, and there is gonna be India versus USA on 4th October, so we have a few times so we can cover a lot of sagas here. And this is definitely one such saga in an epic edition of for Divya Deshmukh, where she played in Tata Steel's 2023, and this genius prodigy, I mean, being the last seed of the tournament, as you can see here with the picture, but still was able to absolutely crush everyone ahead of the world chess champion, ahead of all of these strong players like Harika, like Koneru Hampi, like Wantika, and also all of the amazing Chinese players as well. I mean, she was able to still beat all of them and get to the top. So this is going to be one epic edition of it. Without further ado, let's start with this. This is going to be one epic game. It just knight to f3 by Harika, and Divya goes for d5. We are in the ready opening. Now we have d4, knight to f6, c4, and e6. Hey, just g3, bishop to e7, bishop to g2, and just castles, d captures, queen to c2, and just b6. And even now you can see that knight to e5 is a very nice addition to this. I mean, you feel like you want to get that knight to the central square and also open up an attack towards the rook. But the thing is that if you go for knight to e5 in this position, knight to d5 comes, and you have to understand that queen caps on c4 looks like a very nice move. But here just bishop to a6. Now I'm targeting that, and queen needs to move. Where does the queen move? Queen, let's say, goes back to c2, and you have to understand the position is very fine. There's no reason to worry about in this position. You're going to develop the move. Maybe you can even in some lines go for f6 and push the knight back, and you can develop all the pieces and the position. There is no issues in the position, and then just go for c5 in some lines. But yeah, it's absolutely fine position. But here after b6 we have bishop to g5. Not immediately going for that because even Harika knows that that move exists in the position, so there's nothing you can do about it. Knight to d5 was played, but now just comes bishop captures, queen captures, and just a3. We have b5 now, and now just going for e4. I'm going to be covering all of the games from here, so buckle up. It's going to be a long ride, but it's going to be a most important one for the learning curve, and also to see actually how a champion is actually born, because we saw her performance in Ennsues 2025, and you can see in the open section that she played spectacularly well, and this is how geniuses are born. They play in all of the tournaments in open rounds in women's, and they still crush. They still play for the win. They push for higher heights. They don't care if they're the last seed. They don't care if they're second last seed. But when you want to win, you want to win, and that is the differentiation between a normal person, a normal chess player, and a champion, that they push every single time. They don't care what the score is. They don't care if they had a bad day yesterday. They don't care if you had a loss yesterday, or you're not performing that well. You want to push every single game, and that is why they are these geniuses prodigies like Prague, Arjun, Gukesh. They are at the very top because that's what they do. They are absolutely fearless, and that's what defines them. Here, knight to b6 by Divya, just b3, but just c captures. Now just queen captures, and bishop to b7, but just knight to c3. And now just a6, rook f to e1. We have knight to d7, d5 now, immediately striking in the center. And it seems like, the position seems like very, very nice for white. It seems that it's a good position because white is occupying a lot of space, but it's actually the opposite. You can see the evaluation part. Divya's position is nice simply because of the fact that knights can jump into the position, and it will be very, very difficult to kick off those knights. Also, this bishop is very strong. Also, you can get the rooks into the game. It's just an easier development for black. And the thing is that for white, on the other hand, yes, you've pushed all of these pawns. Yes, you're have a lot of space in this position, and feels like you're the one better here, but you have to understand that those pieces are not targeting anything. You cannot get the knight into the position with that easily. You cannot get the knight anywhere without targeting them and pushing them towards something to try and push for a win and trying to attack something. That's the problem in this position. Here rook f to e8 was played, but now just rook a to c1, and in this position there's a very fine move. I'm going to ask you to pause the video and try and find out the only winning move or only winning advantage in this position that gets you towards that other path where you are actually able to crush your opponent. So have at it. So congratulations to everyone who's able to find this move. The move is this spectacular, not knight to c5, but c5. And c5 is such a beautiful move because, obviously once you see it, it all makes sense thanks to our friend Engines here, because here, if you go for queen to d1, then just comes c4, and you have to understand that knight is jumping there, and the position is very, very nice. But what happens if you go en passant? If you go d captures on c6 en passant, then just bishop captures. And the thing is that there is no nice discovery here, even if you try to go for it. But let's say you go knight to d5 in this position to try and open up an attack towards the bishop. I'll just happily give it the bishop captures, and here after e captures. Now the thing is that I cannot capture, I cannot push. So what do I do in this position? Just knight captures in this position. So I may not be able to capture with the pawn, but I can definitely capture with the knight. And obviously, you cannot go for queen captures, thinking that you have that, because you lose the exchange. So there is no point in going for something like that. And you can see it's going to be very, very difficult to kick that knight off. Next knight is jumping there and there, and then rook is joining in the party. This is going to be a very nice game for any attacker. But the thing is that even if you go for a move like knight to c5 in this position, it's absolutely fine. I mean, once you go queen to c4 and queen to c2 and just knight to c4, then you have to understand that those knights are going to be absolute monsters. You're targeting that pawn. Look at the amount of space they are covering. And it's not like they're not targeting anything. They're definitely targeting pawns. They're definitely trying to get into the position, and it's going to be a very fine position in this. And you can get the rook into the game as well. This is a position that anyone would enjoy. But again, c5 is the best move. That's why these moves still being the second best in this position. But here, after rook a to c1, rook a to c8 was played, just getting the rooks there. I mean, it seems like a normal developing move, so you don't see it. It doesn't lose a lot of the advantage, but still engine evaluates it as a missed opportunity. That's why the cross. But here, just h4, and h4 in this move does not work. It gives Divya back the advantage that she had. If you go for a move like d captures here instead of this h4, if you go for like d captures in this position, then just f captures, and you seem like you're doing fine here. After rook c to d1, you're just getting the rooks into the game. Maybe you're just playing a waiting move. Maybe you're just seeing what you can do in this position. But the trouble is, if you go for a move like e5, trying to take more of the space, the trouble is you're giving me a lot of squares for the knight. And once those knight jumps in, queen moves back, rook jumps in with a tempo, because now your queen is under attack. You have to move the queen. Now just comes queen to c2, and here just comes knight to d3. Now both of those rooks are hit. I'm just going to be winning the exchange, and the position is absolutely spectacular for me. Obviously, it's not going to go along as same in line order. I'm showing here because there are a lot of moves that can still be played. Instead of queen to d1, you can go for directly for queen to c2. But the thing is that it's just, you have to understand, it may not be the exact move order like this, but the position could be really, really nasty. That's what I'm trying to say here. The position could be really, really bad, because once those knight jumps in, wherever they're going to land, they're going to be not good for you. But here, after this rook a to c8, h4 was played, and h4 is not a good move, because here just c6 comes, and again c5 still could have been played, but she misses it. Here rook c to d1, but just here knight to c4, a4 now, just trying to challenge that very nice pawn structure, but just knight to c5, attacking the queen. Queen moves back, but now just comes h6. And both players are very much down on the clock. And the thing is that for some people, being down on the clock is very difficult, because you want to be able to calculate all the lines, but not for the people who are very intuitive. And Divya Deshmukh is one such player, because she is a very intuitive player. And this is the thing about geniuses, they are very, very intuitive. And with intuitive, you have to understand that when your intuition is so strong about the moves here, you even in time pressure, you can find the absolute best move. And when you're able to do that, you absolutely crush your opponent. Because if you're both in time trouble and I'm able to find the better moves and you're not, because you're not able to calculate, then obviously I'm the one who's going to be coming out on top. And we saw that against the game of Pasim Amin against Divya Deshmukh that happened in FIDE Swiss. She had just 30 seconds on the clock, and with 30 seconds she found 7 brilliant moves in a row to crush Pasim Amin, who is a 2600 rated opponent, Africa #1. That's how these players roll, and that's how these amazing, spectacular prodigies are able to win games, because they've been playing since 5 years old. Can you imagine? 5 years old. They have like just 20 years of age, and they have like 15 plus years of experience. This is what basically corporates are looking for. But again, you have to understand that that's how your intuition develops, and if you have that kind of intuition, I mean, you're just going to be on the absolute top of the world for chess. But here in this position, just knight to d4 was played. Now just comes e5, and e5 is not a good move, because here again there was a missed opportunity, because you could have gone for knight to e5, but you cannot just spot all the engine moves, because the trouble is now f4 doesn't work. And why f4 doesn't work? Because you can go for this knight e to d3. Yes, you can sacrifice 2 knights in this position for a rook, because if you go for rook captures, then just comes knight captures, queen captures, and it seems like you're not doing it that much fine in this position. But now just comes c captures, and you must be thinking, what am I even doing here? Because if c captures, then just e captures, and yes, I cannot capture, and I can see that. Believe me, I can see that, because now comes b4. And if you go for there, then the trouble is your knight just goes to the edge of the board, and you cannot do anything. Yes, you might be able to go for there, but where do you jump from here? This knight is controlling this square, so let's say you go all the way back to try and get those knights a decent squares. But now just comes queen to c5, and now this pin is very, very nice, because if you go for d captures on c6 e6 here, but just now comes bishop captures, king captures, now this comes pawn captures in between move, first king captures. And the thing is that you have to capture here, otherwise if you capture here, then you just hang complete rook. So here rook captures, king captures, and seems like your position is absolutely fine. But now just comes a rook to d8, and there is no way that knight can help out with the defense of this knight, and this is pinned. There are no checks in the position, and yeah, most likely you're just going to be losing this game. And one of the saddest parts is that, that even if you go for this check, I just block with the queen. That comes with a check, and now you have to capture. But once you do, both knights are hit, and one of the knights needs to move. There are no checks with this knight, so the trouble is you're going to be losing one of them, and that's how you lose this position completely. It's absolutely crazy. But you cannot calculate all of these lines here in this position, and it's a crazy engine line. But I mean, you have to understand that it's very difficult to calculate all of this with like 3 minutes on the clock. But here after h6, here knight to d4 was played, but now this comes e5, and now knight caps on c6, bishop captures, d captures, here just knight captures on e4. So you've managed to actually eliminate all of the queenside pawns. You have 2 to 1 here, but this is going to be captured as well. So position is very likely that Divya is going to win this. But here after knight caps on a4, just p captures, bishop to h3 now, just targeting that rook, and Divya goes for rook captures on c6. And it doesn't give you a loss, because now you can understand bishop to d7 is definitely coming, hitting the two of the rooks. But there is a move in this position. Bishop to d7 was played, rook to b6 first, attacking the queen. Queen now needs to move, then you'll move this rook. So hey, queen to c2 was played, but queen to c2 is not a good move. The move that you want to play in this position is queen to c1, and it's very difficult for you to understand that why queen to c1 is a better move in this position. The thing is that with queen to c2, you can just jump in with the knight, and also give with the tempo you'll be able to improve the position of the knight. And also knight there will be protected by the queen, so you cannot attack it. And now once the queen moves, I'll be able to move the rook out of the way, and then my position is going to be fine. But that's why queen to c2 is not a good move, because that's exactly what Divya plays. She has now 4 seconds on the clock, and she needs to make all of these moves, and this is going to be very difficult here. Knight to a3 was played, just queen captures on a4, trying to just attack the piece, but that doesn't work, because here rook to d8 attacking the bishop, just bishop to c6 asking for a rook trade, but just knight to b5. And now that is broken, so that is going to be sorry, not there, that is going to be definitely hanging now, that bishop. So you need to move the bishop, but here first position, so rook caps on d8 with a check, queen captures, bishop caps on b5, a captures. Now you have a pass pawn, and it's, well, pass pawns must be pushed. So here just go and push the pass pawn. Here queen to b4 was played, but queen to b4 is not a good move. But what do you even play here? I mean, if you don't go for queen to b8, there is not much better. You can pin, but I don't think so. Pinning would be a good idea in this position. The thing is that with 4 seconds on the clock, Divya Hayes goes for king to h7, but it was a missed opportunity, because you could have gone for the best move in this position, which is queen to d4. Always centralize your pieces. This is the idea here, because now if you capture, you're just completely lost. There's just 2 pass pawns, too much to handle for one single rook. Here just rook to d1, then just b4, rook to b1, then just b3, and game. Even if you're able to get this king out in time, you have to understand with all of the blockades I'm going to be creating and pushing the pawn all the way, getting the rook inside the position, it's going to be very difficult to do anything in this position. But after queen to b4, king to h7 was played, but now just comes rook to b1. But now here queen to d3, rook to b3, queen to e2, rook to b2, and just rook to d1 check. This is the thing with rapid here. Once you go down on the clock, it's very difficult to come back. But once you go down on the clock, it's also good for players like Divya. They're with the intuition, they're able to play this good. Then they should get in time trouble more often, because then they'll be able to play the much genius that they actually aspire or to see on the board. A king to g2, but just queen to c1 check, queen to c1, rook to b1, queen to c6, rook to d1. Now rook to d1 is a mistake in this position, because now you can jump in with the queen to c2, and you'll also be hitting the f2 pawn alongside. You'll be hitting the rook, and then you have to understand that this is going to be jumping in, and you'll be able to attack that with this very nice geometry. So that was the idea, but in 4 seconds on the clock, you're not able to find this move. So here rook to b8 was played, but now just comes d5. But Divya finds the nice move in this position, which is this very nice f6. And f6 is a brilliant move in this position, because it solidifies the structure. And now if you're thinking, why can't I do this with white? Well, you cannot, because now the queen jumps in, and your king is going to be very vulnerable with all this thing, and rook can also get into the game. It's just very difficult position to do anything in this. Rook to d6 was tried attacking the queen, queen to c7, rook to d5, queen to c6. Both plays, it seems like both plays are going for a draw, but not really. Here rook to d5, but just queen to b7, h5 now, trying to create some complications. But here just queen to c6, rook to d6 again, queen to e8, rook to d5, rook to b7, and here after rook to c5, queen to e7, just pinning this rook very nicely. And what do you even do in this position? King to h2 was played, thinking that maybe that is a good move, but this is not a waiting move. This is actually a blunder, because here queen to d6 was played, and now you have to understand that queen is infiltrating. Even if you go for a move like rook to c4, it's a complete blunder, because here after queen to d3, I'll just infiltrate. Rook to c3 could be played, but just queen to e2, and after queen to c5, now just defending that pawn. The trouble is rook to d7, and now I'm jumping in. There are no checks that you can give to my king. That's the problem here. This diagonal is completely blocked by your own pawn, and you cannot do anything and just attack my position, because here my pieces are going to be just much faster. So here after queen to d6, here king to g2 was tried, rook to b8, but now just comes g4, queen to d1, king to g3, and queen to g1 check was played. King to f3. Both players are still playing on seconds on the clock. Queen to d1 check, king to g3, rook to d8. But now this position is completely over, and it seems like maybe you can set up some sort of a defense, but you have to understand your king is so vulnerable in this position. Rook can jump in, deliver a check, queen can infiltrate, you can get mated in just a few more moves. Rook to c3 was played, but now this comes queen to g1 check, rook to f3, and queen to h1 check was played, but instead there was a mate in 6 in this position. If you want to find it out, you can do it on your own, but I'm just going to show it for you, and the move is, yes, it's a rook to d2. And the trouble is, I'm hitting this, I'm going to be giving you that check next, and there is nothing you can do. I'm also be going here, and it's just very difficult to try and do anything in this position because they're going to be slicing all the way through. If you go for queen to c5 trying to protect this, the trouble is you just get mated in less than 6 moves. Queen to h2, and after king to e3, the trouble is queen caps on f2 would be checkmate, because here you would be blocking your own defense to the pawn, and if not, this would have been checkmate, so there is nothing you can do. But after king to f3, queen to h1 check was played. This doesn't blunder anything, you're still at a plus 10 advantage, and you're just getting mated in 19 moves. But here after king to e3, rook to just move 57, that Harika Dronavalli resigned the game, and Divya Deshmukh got the spectacular victory in just 57 moves, showing in first round what an absolute class she is. And hey, not just targeting this, I mean, you're just most likely getting checkmated no matter what you do in this position. Otherwise, you have to sack the queen, and that's why Harika resigned the game. All the tough tournaments that she's been to, all the open section tournament that she has played, has just proved to be stepping stones into her career, because the way she's been playing, I mean, FIDE Swiss you can take World Cup, you can take even the tournaments before that. I mean, she has won 35 plus medals for her nation at just 19 years of age. I mean, this just shows phenomenal class. She's destined to be the absolute legends of chess, and she has shown that time and time again. And if I hadn't told you, that is my mistake, because here with the black pieces that she's playing, she's just 22-16 rated, and Harika is 24-59. There is a rating gap of roughly 250 points. So you have to understand that this is not just a matchup. You're not just playing against legends, you're playing against an opponent who you are 250 rated points below, and you're able to absolutely crush them. That too with the black pieces should be definitely applauded. With the level of play she's been showing for the past couple of years, I mean, I can definitely tell you that she's going to perform splendidly in candidates, splendidly in World Chess as a World Chess Championship challenger, and she's definitely getting there. Not just because India wants it, because she wants it, and she's going to be absolutely crushing it. She's destined for greatness. Definitely, she's going to be rising through the ranks in a couple of years. She's definitely going to be showing that, and definitely this is a World Chess Champion in the making, and that just perfectly shows by this game. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll be coming back with such amazing games, and I'll be showing you entirety of what happened in Tata Steel 2023 Rapid Women's section, and this is going to be one amazing event to cover. I'll be showing a lot of other games as well. I've already shown FIDE Swiss 2025. You can check that out on my playlist on my channel. All of our games were covered. All of the many games were covered of many players. I've shown roughly 80 games throughout the tournament, so it was a long event, but yeah, covering that was an absolute pleasure for me, because absolutely I love chess, and covering these kinds of games improves my play as well. But I know it will improve a lot of players who just want this kind of content to be able to actually cherish chess and learn chess. I mean, it's going to be an absolute gem to them. So yeah, as a kid, when I wanted to learn chess, there was not many players where you could get that knowledge from, and online there was only Agadmeta. I was really grateful to him because I learned a lot from him, and that's what I try to produce here. Same level of content, or maybe even high level of content, to try and deliver it to you at absolute no cost, because that's how it should be. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll be seeing you guys very soon. Thank you very much for watching.